Are you curious to know what is required to live in a 55 plus community? In this video, we're going to go over all the requirements, including age, occupancy, visitations, and everything you need to know before considering a 55 plus community. This will be a very exciting video that will cover many common questions that we get asked. Some of these questions are, do you have to be 55 years or older to live in a 55 plus community? Can my children live with me? And what happens if my spouse is 55, but I'm not? Stick around to the end because we're going to answer all these questions in this video.
A customer recently reached out and shared with me that she desperately wanted to move. She was in a challenging relationship and planned on separating from her partner. I was very inspired by how brave and courageous she was. It's certainly not easy to leave everything you've been used to and go out on your own. I was reminded by the quote by Henry David Thoreau that the mass of people live lives of quiet desperation. So I have to give her a lot of credit for reaching out and exploring all her options. Now the problem was she wasn't 55 yet, she's only 53. She had a couple more years to go. And basically no 55 plus community would approve her as of now because she's too young. This is why it's so crucial to reach out ahead of time and make sure that you fit all your requirements. Can you imagine if she looked around, separated from her partner, and couldn't move forward at the end of the day? It's so important to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row beforehand, and we could actually go through each community with you and make sure you qualify before we even go out and look together. It just shows the value of planning ahead. It's one of the core values of our team, is to plan ahead of time and make sure that we have all our ducks in a row before we start looking at properties in different communities.
So you're probably asking yourself, what are the requirements and how do I qualify? We're going to go through some basic requirements of 55 plus communities. Now, quick disclaimer, we don't make or enforce these rules. You're responsible for verifying all the information and we encourage that. This video is intended for a broad audience and many communities have their own different rules and regulations. That's why it's so crucial to reach out beforehand, because many times we can do all the research for you and cut through the fluff. If we don't know the answer, we'll research the answer for you. So take everything you hear with a grain of salt, and we welcome to answer any of your questions. Our email address is over55nj@gmail.com, or you can schedule a phone call by going to over55nj.chat.
One of the most common questions we get is, do I have to be 55 years or older to live in a 55 plus community? The answer is almost certainly yes. You do have to be 55 years or older, whether it's a rental or a sale. When I first started studying these communities, I was wondering about the age restrictions and requirements. Doesn't that violate a fair housing law of some capacity? It turns out in 1999, HUD made an amendment for 55 plus communities known as the 80-20 rule. The first caveat of the 80% requirement is at least 80% of the residents must be 55 years or older. The second is more procedural. The HOA has to have a procedures book stating these requirements and these intentions for a 55 plus community. So what's important here is the 20% is mostly just a cushion or flexibility. It's not a set requirement or a set ratio. The 20% is used by the housing authority to provide some breathing room and flexibility for these communities. Now, the common misconception is that people that are younger than 55 believe they can qualify by getting into that 20%. And unfortunately, that's generally not how it works. HUD permits 55 plus communities to enforce a 20% ratio at their discretion. In fact, the ratio doesn't even have to be 20%. HUD recognizes that the 55 plus communities have the intention of being age-restricted communities, and the 20% is just a broad cushion to allow these communities to enforce this rule as they see fit. Now, some people get frustrated saying, I'm 53 years old, I'm right there, can I make an exception? We have seen communities be very strict with these guidelines. They're very aware that letting someone in early is a slippery slope that can spin out of control. It's also not fair to the other residents that had to wait until they were 55. We like to say, once you're in, and you can have the confidence that these rules will be enforced with the intention of preserving the age restriction of the community once you're in. Another question we get related to this is, does my spouse or partner have to be 55 as well? This is another great question that many people ask us. Communities are cognizant of age gaps that occur across many different relationships. While every community is run differently and has their own different rules, we have seen the majority of communities be very flexible on this. After all, if rules are too strict, who's going to want to live there? We have a saying that HOAs are human too. These HOAs are made of people in the community that want the best for their community and their neighbors. Another question related to this is, what if my spouse or partner passes away and I'm not 55 yet? This is another great question and a valid concern. This is where you see the usefulness of the 20% rule we previously discussed. The 20% of the 80-20 rule provides useful flexibility for residents. Imagine if every single person had to be over 55, and imagine how cumbersome it would be for everyone, not just the residents, but the HOA to enforce this. The 20% rule provides that flexibility, allowing many people to continue to live in the community. HUD gives broad discretion to these communities to enforce this rule as they see fit. Many communities are understanding and will work with the residents on this. Another common question is, can my children live here? Unlike the first two questions where we covered age requirements and specific age gaps, you'll find more variability when it comes to children living in different facilities. What I mean by this is that different facilities have different rules regarding children occupants. Many HOAs are sensitive about having the community overrun by children. The most common rule is that children under 18 years old are not permitted to reside in the community. We had a customer who wanted her 2 adult children in their 20s to live with her. After working together for some time and looking at various communities, we double-checked with the HOA on her behalf to ensure her daughters could live with her before proceeding further. This illustrates the value of planning ahead. We recommend reaching out as early as possible to create a customized list based on your needs and preferences. There's nothing worse than spending hours researching only to find you don't meet the requirements. Send us an email or text us at 732-201-3765, and we'll be happy to connect with you and start the process. Another question is, can my grandchildren visit me? A common follow-up question is whether grandchildren can visit, and the answer overwhelmingly is yes, of course. HOAs understand that many 55-plus residents have extended families, and many people relocate to be closer to their families for visitation purposes. While this might seem like a basic answer, it's important to ask these questions. No question is too small when it comes to your lifestyle. We want to ensure that all your bases are covered before making a decision. The way to do that is by reaching out ahead of time and planning. And finally, one of the most important questions is, can pets live with us in the community? This is another area where different communities will vary. As a dog lover myself, I couldn't imagine life without my mini Bernedoodle. If I were considering a community, I would ensure my dog could come with me before anything else. Dogs and cats offer many emotional benefits and are true family members. Many communities understand this and are very accepting. However, keep in mind that this is a community living and your pet must be well trained and follow the HOA rules. Many of our customers have pets and love their pets. During our initial consultation, we ensure we understand your core needs, including pet requirements. Planning ahead and reaching out is crucial. There are many 55-plus communities in New Jersey, and it can be overwhelming. We welcome specific criteria such as pet ownership to narrow down the best options for you. We make sure your pet is welcome before researching any community. It's also highly recommended to get a pet or a companion once you move in. I'm sure they will love living in the community as well. Once again, we invite you to reach out for an absolute no pressure and no rush consultation so we can learn what's right for you and curate searches tailored to your needs. Contact us at over55nj@gmail.com or text or call us at 732-201-3765. You can also schedule a call by going to over55nj.chat. Please consider sharing this video with your family and friends. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video valuable and that many of your questions were answered. While the information may seem overwhelming, we assure you it's not. We advocate for being prepared and reaching out ahead of time for targeted research and also to get to know your needs. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any updates. Our Facebook group is a great way to network with others interested in 55-plus communities. You can find it at over55nj.group and also search for 55-plus homes at over55nj.homes.